To come and chop gorse for a week in a wetland on the west coast, it doesn't immediately sound like the most tempting proposition in the world. I think about 2 years ago we were going to just start a small project here on the lagoon to cut gorse, get some volunteers, probably about 20 people. A year and a half later, after the first one, now in the middle of the second one, we've got about 80 people a day for 6 days working around the lagoon cutting gorse.
We found out about GorseBusters last year. I heard Bears on the radio and said to Richard, "Oh, Richard, we could do this." And so we did. We had a great time last year, so we came back this year.
I have never been to Ōkārito before. I've heard a lot about it. It feels like a really New Zealand sort of beachy location. You've got a really epic backdrop of the Southern Alps behind you and the roaring sea in front of you. It's like, what was going through my mind was, oh, I wonder if I could live here. We cut gorse on the property that we're living on, and we're used to cutting gorse about this big, and these guys are saying it's this big, so I might try and bring a trophy back.
We have people who've flown from Auckland, we have people who've driven from Hawke's Bay for the second year on the trot. We have people who've driven up from Invercargill, the other end of the country, second year on the go. To come and chop gorse for a week in a wetland on the west coast, it doesn't immediately sound like the most tempting proposition in the world, but we've got about half the people who were here last year who've come back this year for the week, given up their time, they've travelled to chop gorse. Gorse actually becomes the climax or dominant species on the lagoon fringe. It can't compete with the forest, but it does outgrow and overtop the grasses that we have around the lagoon, the regenerating wetland communities that are naturally quite stunted and offer really, fantastic whitebait breeding grounds. This is an extraordinary area for bird life, and having that native vegetation that those birds have thrived in for thousands of years being marred and taken over by something like gorse threatens that. So there's some ecological significance here to doing it that there might not be in regenerating farmland where gorse can be useful. But on a wetland community, it's a real threat. We hadn't intended to feed everyone, but then we started getting donations of food from small businesses and local farmers and people doing home baking or dropping off a deer for people, and it really grew from there and it sort of created a bit of a monster, it feels like, but a good one.
It's not often that you show up to a volunteer breakfast and someone makes you an espresso coffee. It's so good.
Good morning, Josh.
We're feeding everyone breakfast about 7 a.m, so I'm generally in here 5:45, 5:30 sort of thing, getting stuff sorted. We're in Donovan's store, which is the oldest wooden building on the west coast and basically functions as a kind of community hall. We've got 10 slow cookers on the go at the moment making dinner, because obviously one oven doesn't make dinner for 90 odd people.
We came by jet ski, some of us, to this little island part of the Ōkārito, and we've been spending the morning just walking through and cutting gorse.
When we first got here, everyone said, pace yourself, because you're sort of cutting and having to haul logs out of the way and stuff, so it's it's definitely tiring, and they were right when they said that the gorse was kind of like this round, like it's pretty big. So you chop it off, and apparently we've been told that you have to paste it really, really quickly, otherwise the plant shuts down, goes back into itself and won't take the poison with it. So we put like a thin layer of poison on the top, and then the plant sucks that down into the roots, which kills it.
We got dumped in the deep end on the delta, so right into the thick of the gorse. Yesterday the mud was over knee height, so I was walking along and just disappeared down a big mud hole, so that was a bit of fun getting back out and trying to keep my shoe on.
We're encouraging people to go at their own pace. Everyone out there's a volunteer, everyone's giving their time. The work can be really hard, but we do want people back next year. We probably shouldn't mention next year yet, but we want them to enjoy what they're doing and to have that sense of camaraderie but to be effective too. It's an incredibly convoluted series of bays and river deltas that you're working into, and so about 19 kilometres or so we worked on last year. You know, it's definitely haven't eradicated the gorse in there, but some areas are literally unrecognisable to what they were before. And so this year we've gone back and we're consolidating what we've done before. We're going over that whole 19 Ks. We can then start to expand into new areas, which is actually what we're doing today. We've got people on what's called Racecourse Island, just across the water. Tomorrow we'll have people pushing further into the river deltas that are ecologically really valuable.
Gem and Baz are just amazing. They've managed to just get it together. I think lots of people want to do good, and if someone gives you the opportunity to do it, then people will take it. And they've just had the whole of this South Westland behind them, as far as I can tell. They're just amazing.
So dinner time for 80 hard-working GorseBusters from all over the country. Some of them have done a huge amount of work today, so some of them are really proud to have finished areas that they spent 3-4 days in last year and have gone back to and have ticked off this year, and they've walked away going, I've done that, you know, I've knocked the bastard off.
It's tremendous, you know, they've put their heart and soul into it, and we have thoroughly enjoyed, you know, being part of it.
It's not really possible to put into words how proud we are. It just goes back to that simplicity of a Kiwi working bee and just going out and helping your mates. A small town of 40 people, kind of at the end of the world in a way, to get this much support, I mean, it blows you away, really. You know, genuinely, it blows you away.